What's going on, everybody? Mr. Barrett here again. Two-step equations, and we have 8 plus b over -4 is equal to 5. We want to make sure that we are just going through our two-step equations here, the process, trying to isolate the variable, trying to find a solution if there are any for us for this equation to make sure that we have equal on both sides. So I have 8 plus b over -4. At this point, you probably understand, if you've been watching these videos, that I like to myself just kind of notify myself that if I have two terms over here, 8 is one of them, b over -4 is actually one full term by itself. I like to notify myself of which one has the variable in it, because if I want to make sure that I try to start moving things away from the variable, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to isolate the variable. That's the whole process here of solving an equation. So I usually try to start off by moving whatever the other term is away from my, in this case, red box. And in this case, it's this 8. And that 8 right now is positive. So even though it might not necessarily read as plus 8, that's a positive 8. And in order to take it to the other side and to isolate this one term here, I would have to do the inverse operation, which in this case is subtract 8. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract 8 to both sides. 8 minus 8 on the left here is 0, so that would leave me with that one term that I had boxed previously. And on the right side, I have 5 minus 8. You got to be careful with this one. 5 minus 8 is actually -3. Let's take a moment just to summarize what we just did. Again, inverse operation to move the 8 to the right side of this equation, and I had to subtract. So I did the subtraction property of equality. Let me just go ahead and make a note of that. Hopefully you're doing that also. And now I come down here and I have b over -4 is equal to -3. Remember, it looks like a fraction. And fractions are just a fancy way of saying division. We want to isolate the variable, which means what we're going to do here is multiply both sides by the denominator. In this case, the denominator is -4. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation here by -4. And it has to be multiplication by -4. Remember here, when I use multiplication and division to wrap up this problem, my goal is to get a number 1. So if I do -4 divided by -4, that would give me a positive 1. And that's my goal when I'm multiplying or dividing and using that as a property of equality. So -4 divided by -4 would be 1. So we could stick the number 1 in front of the variable here if we wanted to. Usually people don't do that. No big deal. You can. You don't have to. Over on the right side, I have -3 times -4. And -3 times -4 would be positive 12. Negative times a negative is positive. 3 times 4 is 12. So I get b is equal to 12 here. Again, let me just summarize that step right there. We know that we solve within the problem b divided by -4. So the inverse operation would mean that we would have to use the multiplication property of equality. We multiplied -4 to both sides, and we got our solution of 12.